What is fear? F-E-A-R. It's an abbreviation for what? False evidence that appears real. So we all get fear, and fear is what stops us. There's nothing else that can literally stop you. It's only fear, because if you don't have the answer, we can get the answer. If we don't have the skill, we can get the skill. So fear is what stops us, and let me just save us a lot of time. The first thing you need to understand is there's only two real fears. The feeling of being not enough. Not rich enough, not young enough, not smart enough, not sexy enough, not funny enough. It's a pretty horrible feeling, isn't it? Especially if you feel like you're not enough for someone you love, whose love you crave. When we feel like we're not enough for someone we love, it makes us crazy, because it brings up the second deepest fear. And what is that? We're afraid that if we're not enough, that we won't be loved. And love, my friends, is the oxygen of life. The only way to deal with fear that I've found in my life is a couple ways. One of those ways is to turn it on itself and ask yourself, what am I afraid of? If I'm afraid of that, I gotta be more afraid of what I'm gonna miss out on, missing out on my mission, missing out on who I'm supposed to be. In other words, if you're not gonna get rid of fear, then use fear. Use fear or it uses you. It's that simple. So you gotta say, okay, what's the price if I just stay doing this? What's the price? I need to really get scared if I learn all this and I don't follow through. That's something to be scared about. And then that fear will get you over your fear. It'll push you through. Turn fear on itself. Second way you can do it is use what you've probably heard me say, because I've used it since I was 17, is my little rocking chair test, right? I'm gonna sit myself in my rocking chair. I'm 85 years old. I'm looking back on my life, and I say, I didn't do this, or I did. The easiest way to deal with the fear of failure is to be more fearful of not taking action, to be more fearful of settling for a life that is far below what you deserve and what you desire. Everybody has a place where they get fearful. It's just the human mind, it's there. It's not that you're not gonna be fearful. I think what it really is just, again, training yourself to say, I can be fearful and I can do it anyway. I don't have to get rid of the fear. I just have to dance with it. I have to use the energy of it to move myself forward. And I found in the early days, I used to, like, when I was trying to make a decision, I would do what I called my rocking chair test. I took a helicopter ride one time. We're flying straight across all the people, bumper to bumper, no stop. This is the way to live. What would it take to, learn how to fly a helicopter? Money, time, energy, where am I gonna fit all this in? What would life be like? I'm 85 years old, I'm in my rocking chair, and I flew helicopters, and I took my friends and family, took the doors off, and screamed down on the water. We lived this life where you could go wherever you want the way you want. It was like, wow. And I looked at what that life would be, felt it felt incredible. And what if you never learn? What if you come up with all these fears? I don't have time, I don't have the money, I don't know if I can do it, I don't know if I can master it. And you let the fears dominate me, and I never learned to fly a helicopter, and I'm 85 in my rocking chair. And I look back on my life and I missed out on all that. But the fastest way to deal with fear is do it anyway. You don't have to feel good to do stuff. That's an illusion. Make yourself do it. What I've trained my brain is when I say do it, we do it. It doesn't matter if it feels good. It doesn't matter if it's too cold. It doesn't matter if I don't feel it. It doesn't matter if I'm fearful. I do it anyway. And when you train yourself to do it anyway, you have a freedom most people will never have. You've been so hard on yourself. I love that you have such high standards. But those aren't high standards. That's called perfection. And most people overestimate what they can do in a year, and they underestimate what they can do in 2 or 3 decades. And you haven't been around long enough to have those extra 2 or 3 decades. So don't fuck it up. There's time. And if you give yourself just a little bit of time, and if you'll be a little more loving to yourself, I think you're gonna find you got a lot to give. I can fucking feel it. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna remember, as long as you live, that I don't fucking bullshit. And you've seen it, haven't you?
Yes.
Do I tell the fucking truth? Even when it's painful, even when it's not sweet?
Yes.
I'm telling you the truth. You just fucking begun, and you're not gonna fuck it up. You're gonna take the time to fully develop, and you're gonna find a way to enjoy a little bit along the way. The fastest way to get over your fears, I give you 2 different approaches. One is find something you're more scared of than your fear. Because some people are afraid of public speaking or afraid of doing anything, but they're more afraid of disappointing their children. You know, they're more afraid of missing out on the opportunity. They're more afraid of not living the life they want. When I was a kid, I would do this little thing for myself, and I've done it throughout my life, called the rocking chair test. Someone taught it to me. I don't know who it was. Years ago, I read it in a book or something. And it was the idea that if you're trying to find out whether you're going to do something or not, and you're scared to death, imagine you're 80 years old and you didn't do it. You're rocking chair.
Wow.
And how do you feel? And if it doesn't bother you, then don't do it. Right. But if you think like skydiving, or I'm a helicopter pilot, I don't have time, I have energy, but if I thought at 80 years old I could have been flying and taking people down on the water and doing all this crazy, and I missed out on that.
That's a good thing.
So you can either find, what it'd be like to miss out on your dream, or what's something you're more afraid of than your fear, or we'll all break through our fears when we want something bad enough. Right? It's like, I don't care what it is. I saw a man the other day, I've known him for years, and he lost 80 pounds and he's in his 70s. And I said, what made you finally lose the weight? And he goes, you've taught for years. He said, I really finally wanted it. I believe that reasons come first, answers come second. If you get a strong enough why, you can figure out how to do anything.
Right.
But it's a why that's going to drive you. So I'd sit down and say, why is this a must for me, not a should? And ask yourself, what am I afraid of? If I'm afraid of that, I got to be more afraid of what I'm going to miss out on, missing out on my mission, missing out on who I'm supposed to be. In other words, if you're not getting rid of fear, then use fear. Use fear or it uses you. It's that simple. So you got to say, okay, what's the price if I just stay doing this? What's the price? What do I need to really get scared if I learn all this and I don't follow through? That's something to be scared about. And then that fear will get you over your fear. It'll push you through. Turn fear on itself. Second way you can do it is use what you've probably heard me say, because I've used it since I was 17, is my little rocking chair test, right? I'm gonna sit myself in my rocking chair, and I'm 85 years old, and looking back on my life, and I say, I didn't do this, or I did. Human beings can do is amazing. What they will do is usually disappointing. It's not because we're not capable of it. It's because we don't have new actions, because we get in certain emotional states that dominate us, like anxiety, like fear of failure, right? Like the fear of the loss of your mother as an example. So if you're in a state of fear, you're going to behave very differently and get very different results. That's what that means right there. Then if you were in a place of being courageous or bold or warm or connected or playful, any of those. So the most important key to changing your life in any situation is to change results, you got to change behavior. But to change behavior, you got to change the emotional state you're in. Now, how do you do that when you don't feel like it, right? Or it feels overwhelming? All you have to do to change your state is not try to think your way there, like I'm happy, and do a bunch of affirmations. Your brain's gonna go, BS, you are not happy, right? What you need to do is make a radical change in the way you use what we call your physiology. It's a big word, it just means the way you use your physical body. So if you are in a situation, you think of the worst scenario, your mom dying, my business goes under, I never achieve at the level I need to, all the things I have anxiety about, the minute you focus on them, you go into those states of fear, and then you behave fearful, and you get lousy results. And when you get lousy results, what does it do to your brain? You go, see, I told you I couldn't do this. It becomes this negative loop. So how do we break out of it? We change our focus by asking better questions. Everybody in this room can try this. Just right now, answer this question in your mind. What is it in your life that you're proud of? If there's something you could feel really proud of right now by focusing on it, your children, yourself, something you accomplished, you did, how many can think of something you could feel proud of? And I don't mean fake pride, ego pride, like where you're making things up. I mean, well, you really did something you're proud of. Good. Right now, close your eyes and focus on how it feels when you're really proud. Focus on that moment you're proud of. How do you breathe when you feel really proud? And if you're a little kid, what happens to your face when you're really proud? You don't hide it, right? There's that big smile on your face. Raise your hand if you can feel these feelings right now. Everyone here, just say aye if you got it.
Aye.
Awesome. Try one more real fast. Think of something that you could be really grateful for or excited. Pick either one. Something you could be grateful for, a person, a moment, or something if you wanted to that you could be excited about. Let's use excited for a moment. How many could think of something in your life that if you focused on it, you could feel excited? All right? Close your eyes. And just for a moment, all we're doing is changing your focus. Focus on what could excite you. Feel like it's really happening. Your mom's healing, you break through in the business, you're achieving the level you want. Anxiety is rid from my life. I'm on charge, I'm on top of it. How do you breathe when you feel really excited? And then try this, when you're a little kid, you probably made noises, the hell of it, until people told you not to. Make a noise of excitement, a sound of excitement. Go ahead in your bodies, all of you. Most people have a belief about what their real potential is no matter what you tell them. And that affects how much action they take. And of course that affects the result. And then ironically, that result reinforces their belief. And then that belief affects it. So I'll give you an example. Let's say a person has unlimited potential, we all agree. But they take little action, little results. Why? Because they have to start with a problem with their belief. They don't believe it's really going to happen for me. Maybe for Frank Kearns because he's got the cool hair and stuff, or maybe it's for you because you're so driven, but it's not me. Maybe Tony Robbins because he's a freak, got these big teeth. Whatever their thought process is, right? They got this thing, right? But what happens is, if you believe that there's very little potential, how much action are you going to take? Nothing, little. And when you take little potential with a little action, what kind of results do you get? Lousy little results. And when you get little results, what does that do to your belief? You go, see, I told you this was a waste of time, told you this wouldn't work. And then what happens? You tap even less potential, you take even less action, you get even worse results, and your belief gets even weaker. And this sucker feeds on itself until you are in a downward spiral.
It's poisonous.
It's poisonous and it's self-fulfilling. Now, what if something could happen that could come along and fill you with a sense of absolute certainty? Not like I believe, but where you know. In you guys' case, mine as well, we knew because we had to. Because we burned the boats. There was no other option. We had to find a way. We weren't going to live that way. We all did it in different ways and for different reasons, but in essence, that was it. If you get yourself in a state of certainty that this is going to work, I'm going to find a way, and if this doesn't work, I will make the way, then you tap a lot more potential. And when you're certain in your potential, you take massive action. When you take massive action, you really believe in something, you get great results. When you get great results, your brain goes, see, I told you I was a stud. There are thousands of emotions. There's 4,000 words in the English language, I should say, for different individual emotions. I did the research on it years ago. I'm gonna have you take out a piece of paper, pen, take out your notebook, computer, get a page. On one side, one column, write all the emotions that you experience at least once a week that empower you in some way. Love, passion, excitement, creativity, whatever it is. Peace, determination, I don't know, what are yours? I want you to write the emotions, though, you don't experience once in a while. The ones you experience at least once a week in a powerful way and really feel it. Not an emotion you feel once every blue moon. On the other side of that page, or if you do it on our little application or wherever we put it here, the other side I want you to write all the negative emotions, or to be more fair, all emotions can be positive if you use them, all the disempowering emotions, the ones that tend to put you in a state where you don't follow through. And I want you on that side to write all of them and do it simultaneously, just keep making your list. What are the emotions I go into that mess me up, like feeling frustrated, or overwhelmed, or lost, or alone, or depressed, or pissed off and rageful, whatever it is you go. And again, not emotions you experience once in a while, the ones you experience at least once a week. So make a list of all the emotions you experience at least once a week, ones that empower you, ones that disempower you, on the list. That's step one. That's identifying where you live. And circle the top two out of the whole list that you experience most often that are empowering, and the top two you experience most often that are disempowering. That'll be step one. Now, I'm trying to explain it to you here, it'll be right in front of you as well, so if you forget what I'm saying, it's gonna be on the little checklist. But I want you to know what I mean. Step two, let's identify the solution. So you look at your list, and you see on the disempowering list, I got sadness and depression, or I got feeling lonely, or I've got feeling rage and anger, or I got feeling fear. What emotional state would you like to feel in that situation that would change your life? If it's fear, maybe it's courage. Again, courage doesn't mean it's easy, doesn't mean you feel, confident, it just means you're gonna do it anyway. Maybe it's determination. Maybe instead of feeling alone, you feel loving and you go give to somebody else. What's the antidote? What's an emotional pattern that if you live that, it would change the game? Is it faith? Is it passion? Is it courage? Is it playfulness? You're taking things just too damn seriously. You've forgotten perspective. Go watch the show again. See if you really have a problem. See if your problems are as challenging as the people you just saw who transformed their tragedy into something tremendous, something beautiful, something magnificent, something meaningful, something that can even help other people that are watching. That's the beauty. So that's the second step. What's the antidote? Come up with your antidote emotion. Step three is you gotta practice that emotion. Now I know that sounds silly, stupid, kind of weird, But if you came to a seminar with me, you'd see, 3,000, 10,000 people, and we do this, and we condition that a new emotion till you can shift gears. Have you ever heard about the fire walk? It's not about the fire walk. I do skydiving, all kinds of crazy stuff. It's a metaphor for how do I go from afraid, fire's metaphor for whatever you don't follow through on your life, whatever holds you back, to snapping and going to a state of mind where I just move through. It's not this big mind over matter thing, it's mind over emotion. It's shifting. And when you learn how to go from scared to determined in action, what can't you do in your life? What are the big primary antidotes? What emotions do you need? Practice the emotions you need so you can go into them a few times. Sounds a little weird, but if you do it, you'll see it's actually quite fun. Feels powerful. Maybe do it with a friend. That's the easy way to do it. And condition it. And that means take the next 3 days, do this 3 times. Figure out the difference and shift from not sure, worried to determined. From overwhelmed, I don't know what to do, to focused. And you just deliberately, physically make the change from one to the other. 3 times for 3 days. If you're bold, do it for 7. But if you do this 3 or 4 times a day for 3 to 7 days, you'll start to get a pattern in your body. And the pattern in your body, a new pattern means a new life. Our life's a reflection of our emotional patterns. If you live in sadness and depression, you could have $1 billion and your life is called sad and depressed. If you're living feeling grateful, feeling alive, feeling passionate, your life is filled with gratitude and passion. Doesn't matter what's happening anywhere else. And you can face any challenge from those emotions and you can overcome. Does this make sense? This is how you can take what you watched in that show and convert it into some actions that'll change you. Very simple approach. Or come see me or get some coaching. I've got all kinds of resources, but this is something you can do right now. You don't need anybody else to make happen. You just need a little ability to take action. Make sense? And if you haven't seen the show, for God's sakes, go on Hulu and watch the show, or all this will just sound like a bunch of words. If you've had the experience, you know what I'm talking about, and you've witnessed it, it'll be real in you right now, and you'll get a sense of what you can do to move forward. And if you can't find it on Hulu, once again, send us a little email, and we'll make sure we find a way for you to be able to observe or experience the show directly. If you will do this, if you'll discover your current emotional pattern and you'll change it through a little bit of practice over and over again, you will change the quality of your life no matter what you're facing. People are not one way. We are a reflection of the states we're living in. When you're in a frustrated state, an overwhelmed state, a tired state, your brain processes completely differently than if you're in a passionate state, whether you're feeling determined, whether you're feeling committed, whether you feel completely resolved. So learning to change the leader's state, learning how to change your own state. So, people, one of the silliest questions I get asked is, you're not really that happy, are you? Or you have bad days, don't you? Of course they have, bad times. But I don't have bad days anymore, and it's not BS. It's because I've trained myself like an athlete to go in these peak states so often that they're just natural for me. It's like building a muscle. So it's not like I'm so smart or I'm just so positive. It's just like, why would I waste my time stressing out? Whenever we feel stress, we go from frustration, anger, worry, sadness, loneliness, whatever. What most of us do is we try to focus on the outside world to change something so that we can feel good on the inside. When in reality, we just need to go work on the inside. When life strikes us and we feel that internal reaction to the external world, it's still what's going on inside. How do we release that? How do we let that go?
And what I've learned is there is every moment of your life, little things that create little irritations.
Yes.
The driver's driving 15 miles an hour below the speed limit in front of you and you're in a rush. You will watch your mind cause serious problems. What's the cost-benefit analysis of bothering myself about the driver in front of me? It's not bothering them. I guarantee you, they're not hearing a word you're saying. Those are 100% cost, zero benefit.
It's all pain.
So you don't do it. So you learn, and there are lots of techniques. My ultimate teaching, and it's yours also in a sense, is you relax. You just sit there and say, I can relax and breathe. It's okay that this is happening. And then what you're doing is allowing the energy to release. The whole idea is you don't engage with it.
What will change your life is learning how to control and direct your own mind and emotions and doing it in a way that really gives you what you want versus what maybe your environment may be demanding from you right now.
I hope that sounds like a journey that's enticing to you, because if it is, I think that the skills you're going to get here will give you a lot more than what you expected. You know that there's more time for what matters for you if you restructured your life a little bit. You may not know how to do that, but a part of you knows that that's really possible. In my own life, I feel so many great privileges, and I'm sure some of it must be luck. There's luck in anything, but a huge part of it, I can tell you honestly, has been focus. I focused on what I knew was most important in my life, and I've created what I want for my life, which may be different for you. But I want you to have what you want to have, not what the environment is demanding from you, not what your next email is requesting, but what your heart and soul deserves and desires.
Trade your expectations for appreciation, and your whole life will change in that moment. The minute you appreciate something, your suffering is gone. It's just your expectations that are stressing you out. And sometimes not meeting your expectations will cause you to come up with a new way to grow, a new way to do something that's better than what you did before. What would your life be like if you made this decision today for real? Screw everything else. We've got a million other things we're going to do to improve your life. What if you really made a real decision? You said, I am not suffering anymore. Life is too short to suffer. I'm going to live in a beautiful state. I'm going to have a good time every day, no matter what. And I'm going to catch myself. I know I'll get off target for a minute, but I'll catch it and get right back in a beautiful state. The minute you stop complaining about your kids, but you look at the things you love in them, the minute you stop complaining about your partners and you think about what's a better way to get through them, this is a chance for me to grow and expand. The minute you appreciate anything, your suffering is over. Because loss, less, and never is always a lie. You don't lose something, you gain a new option. You aren't in a place where you can never do it again except when you believe that shit. Because whatever you believe, you're going to live. You're going to have to go through failures, and instead of making failures, you have to learn from those. And then it comes down to the skill of influence once again. And so anyone can learn, anyone can develop a vision, anyone can uncover their passion, anyone can learn to influence. That's a skill that could be learned. A person is in a no state, a person's in an angry state, a person's in a frustrated state. You have to be able to influence their state, because if you change their state, you're going to change the result they get. But the second thing you have to understand is, what are people's blueprints? Blueprints, my shorthand for what are their values? What do they believe? What do they fear? I always say to people that life is found in the dance between what you desire most and what you fear most. If I want to lead you and support you, I got to know your goals, your desires. I got to know what you're scared about, what you're fearful about, what stresses you out. And if I understand that, I can communicate in a way that'll inspire you to maximize, not only when I'm here, that's management. Leadership is I'm gone and you've raised your own standard and you're going to continue to perform at a higher level. Your life is not your life. The life you experience is the life you focus on. If you're focused on what's screwed up in your life, you have a screwed up life. If you focus on stuff that you're grateful for, you have an extraordinary life. What's wrong is always available. You can always find what's wrong. So is what's right. So it's a matter of focus. Because whatever you focus on, it'll be real to you, even if it's not real. The number one thing that's going to change your life, the only thing that will change your life, change your business, change your money, change your relationship, is you must raise your standard. Now, I know that sounds boring, stupid, basic, but it's the truth. The only thing that changes our life long term is when we raise our standards.
If you really want to develop the power of positive thinking as a habit, as a lifestyle, as a strategy for success, then decide right now to find something to appreciate from any seemingly negative person or situation, and develop the habit of giving compliments. See, if you really want to have some more positive feelings in your life, you got to keep focusing on what's right. You got to get curious. And most importantly, you got to find something to appreciate even in the tough times. Because in reality, as we've talked about so often before, the toughest times in your life sometimes provide you with the real resources to change your life. So what we've got to do is find something to appreciate. Not someday when things work out. We got to appreciate where we are right now. And sometimes just being positive and keeping a stiff upper lip isn't enough. Sometimes you got to stop and say, I am positive. I'm going to approach this from a positive way. I'm going to stay in a positive state. But I'm going to ask some questions some people may think of as negative, which is what isn't working? Because if you're not willing to look at what isn't working, you can get yourself in trouble. So when I say number 3 is develop the habit of noticing something you can appreciate out of the situation, even something that seems to be negative. What I mean by that is find out what's working, but also appreciate what isn't working. appreciate it enough that maybe it creates enough pain for you to want to make a change. Hey, being purely positive all the time is not the ultimate solution. You're gonna screw up. You're gonna be negative. Things are gonna happen where you don't follow through on what you know. You're gonna make poor decisions. You're gonna say things you shouldn't say, do things you shouldn't do, mess up like you shouldn't mess up. But you know what? When that happens, instead of being negative and beating yourself up and saying, boy, here's another example of me sabotaging myself, decide what you do want. And say, you know, I'm not perfect, but I am good. And what makes me good and what makes me great and what can make me excellent is as soon as I notice I'm not on track, I correct it and I get better. Your goal each day is to get better, not to be perfect. And that's all anyone can ask of you. If every day you really try and contribute more, be more, and do more than you were slightly the day before, that's all anybody can ask. And if you know you're going to screw up and you don't make it a catastrophe, it's easier to bounce right back up. See, the only way you fail is if you quit. But if you learn something and you expand from it and you make some new decisions that enhance your life and the people you care about, then there is no failure. Don't try to be perfect, because you'll never succeed.